Hey guys, today I'm here with Maria Taylor, analyst, host, and reporter for ESPN. Maria is in town for the first ever Cowboy Choice Awards for OSU Athletics. How has your experience been tonight? How was everything for you?
Honestly, it went really well, and first of all, you twisted my arm to come here. So
I did.
I wouldn't be here if not for Haley. But no, I had a good time. I feel like you guys had a good energy, and I feel like the coaches and the athletes were excited to be there. And everyone kind of dressed up, and it was cool to see student athletes not in sweats, but hanging out in like these cute outfits. So I think best dress was one of my favorite parts the whole night.
I was going to say, we had a fur coat, we had a
We did.
cowboy outfit,
We had
a
Meek Mill chains.
thigh-high slit.
We had a thigh-high slit, all red silk,
Uh-huh.
and we had an all-white dress, which was beautiful. Actually, I saw a sailor hat and an all-blue fatigue onesie.
I think there was a fedora too. I saw a
Yes,
fedora.
and we had that. So you guys have style here in Stillwater. That's what I'm saying.
Did everyone treat you like you thought? I mean, they didn't treat you like, oh my gosh, she's here. Like, was it comfortable for you walking the orange carpet, getting the interviews, all that?
Yeah, I think there was a little bit of like shock and surprise. Like, you really came here? I'm like, of course. I was a student athlete once back in the day, and it's important to me to make sure that there's some experiences that I'm still a part of. And if it's the first time that you guys are having these awards and you're trying to make it big and you want it to be fun and you want everyone to know that this is an event that you want to have for years to come, then it's important for me to be there. Like, it's not just about showing up when there's a game being kicked off. It's about the experience for student athletes, and you know that I'm really big on that. So it was cool to be a part of it, and I think if anything, that was the biggest response. Like, really, you're here? Yeah, I'd love to be here.
Yeah, even though we've been posting it
Yeah,
for months.
Videos,
Pictures,
Snapchats,
anything.
IG stories.
Yeah. But speaking of having experiences for student athletes, I personally was one of your cohorts at your Winning Edge retreat.
The baby.
The baby. But I mean, how cool is that? You travel not only when you do college game day, like you travel to schools and you do events for the schools, for the student athletes. How important is that to you to just kind of, I guess, give back to the next generation?
It's super important because sometimes I can be at a game or I can be traveling somewhere and I'm just wondering, like, what is this all for? Like, what is the bigger picture? Because someone's always going to win a game, someone's always going to lose a game. There's a coach that's going to get fired, there's a player that's going to graduate. The storylines don't change. But what is the impact that I can make off of the field of play, or other than just having my job and speaking on a microphone? And to me, it's these engagements. It's watching you grow from the person that I knew in Miami a year ago who wasn't sure exactly what she wanted to do, but knew that there was a path that existed, and who's the president of SAC now, who's put on the first ever Cowboy Choice Awards, who shadowed me at the Final Four, who's run ESPNW's Instagram, who's been with me at a Texas football game. Like, you kind of run the gamut, and I've seen you mature right before my eyes. Like, these are the moments that are important to me, not working a national championship. Like, those will be great, and I'll take a picture and I'll post it later, but like, me being able to, the impact to live on through people like you, like, that's the most important thing.
And speaking of, people like me, everyone's like, oh, you got Maria to come, blah, 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 blah. But honestly, I appreciate it so much. Like, that's not something that a lot of people would do for their mentee or whatever. But just, I know you started your podcast with Robin Roberts.
Yeah.
That was your first episode. And I think what a lot of people don't understand is how important a mentor is. I tell people, like, yeah, she came here and that shows, like, I think I said on stage, like, not that she is just doing this because she's a star, but she's doing it because she really cares about the kids that she's mentoring. So how important for you was that to have a mentor, especially someone like Robin Roberts? How great was that?
I think Robin's a part of the reason why I do as much as I do outside of just being a broadcaster, because when I was first getting my start, one of the first people that I got a chance to talk to, like before I got SEC Network, before I was full-time with ESPN, was Robin. And I'm a nobody at this point. Literally, she's just seen me do a little bit of work, and my former basketball coach reached out to her and was like, I want you to talk to her. And she was like, I see something in her and I would love to. And she called a day after Good Morning America and invested so much time and energy and listened to me and allowed me to ask questions and really guide me through what should be the next step in my career. And every time that I've reached out to her since, including when I asked her to do the podcast, it's been instant. Great. Talked to my assistant, and the next week I was interviewing Robin Roberts, which is the same experience I want you to have. I want you to feel like if I call Maria, like, she's going to pick up the phone, answer, and not only answer, but be there for me and be supportive of the things that are important to me. And that's what she did for me. So all I'm doing is really paying it forward. Like, every gift that I give is a gift that Robin gave to me. And the reason why I want to make people feel the same way that she made me feel on that phone, 5 years ago or whatever the case may be.
And on the podcast, you guys talk about the importance of starting in a smaller market. Robin started in sports radio. ESPN asked her to come and audition. She was like, whoa, I'm not ready. I'm not ready. And you talked about how you did ESPN and you were like, oh, this is not good. I need to get some more experience first. So, I mean, talk about, I guess, the importance, because everyone wants to be on TV. Everyone wants to be big and they want to be a star right out of college. But why do you think it's so important to take a smaller job first and kind of get your footing and get your feet in the door and get your feet wet and all that first?
Yeah, I mean, that's how I started. So my first job was at Georgia, and I was just doing internet radio. It wasn't even like radio broadcast. It was on the internet for volleyball and the radio broadcast for women's basketball. And it's important because that's where you take all your nicks, and that's where you can make mistakes and no one's really watching. And so that means that no one is going to come and criticize you or make you feel less than. And it's funny because I was just listening to, and I've been talking to Corrine about this, TD Jakes was having a conversation with Stephen Furtick, and he was saying, like, the reason why an embryo is developed inside of a mother is because if you expose it too soon, it will die. So if you have a talent and you expose it too soon, it could die. You could be put in a situation that you're not mature enough to handle. You could be put in a situation that you're not experienced enough to handle. And I've seen one too many times where someone gets a job that they're not ready for, they fail at it, and that was your chance. People aren't just going to walk out and be like, yeah, try broadcasting again. We saw you fall flat on your face, but this time it'll be okay. Yeah. That's not usually what happens. So you want to make sure you're at the stage in which you can excel and succeed, and that's why it's so important, especially the younger generation. Guys, I know you're sitting at home and thinking, I just want to be on ESPN. Try something else first. Trust me, you don't want to be making your debut on ESPN and not know what you're reporting about, not know what to say, stand there when that red light comes on and say absolutely nothing, because now you're on YouTube, now you're on Twitter, now you're on Instagram, and it's hard to erase all of that. So enjoy the stages where you're learning and growing, protected in those moments that, maybe not a lot of people are seeing it, but you're learning and you're becoming better.
And it's not easy, like you said.
It's not.
People want to be in front of the bright lights and they want to do everything, but you could be the next me. And it's
and I think too. I mean, you were with me at the Final Four. You saw I was stressed, I was tired, I was exhausted, and we were trying to put on these shows and do halftimes and bring energy, and it doesn't matter how I feel. Doesn't matter if I feel sick. It's like we got to go and do this. Your job to do the show, and you have to be prepared for that. You have to build endurance, and you can't just show up and have endurance. It takes time to build.
And since that first job, I think what I witnessed at the Final Four is what, like you said, what goes behind the scenes. I've never been taught that you guys do run-throughs. Like, we just think you guys are all stars and you do it perfectly every single time. And there's a lot of studying. You're up at 6 a.m. doing makeup. While you're reading your notes and doing your hair and then getting interviewed by the media. I mean, there's so much that goes into it that people don't understand. So how do you do it all? I mean, you do multiple sports, so you have to have knowledge of so many sports. Like, how do you do all that? How do you prepare for all that?
A lot of it is a balancing act. So I don't think you're ever going to be able to know everything at once. So if you ask me right now what's going on in the NBA playoffs, I'm not going to know, because right now my focus is Oklahoma, the Cowboy Choice Awards, and then the NFL draft. Like, these are the two things that I'm focused on at the same time. So let's talk about who's probably going to go first round. And a big part of it is just research. I mean, if I'm not researching something, then I'm listening to a podcast about sports, or I'm tuning in to watch something, or I'm trying to wake up and read, 5 articles as soon as I get up. And that's something that Robin Roberts says too. It's like you're constantly inundating yourself with information. And one of the other things that I just heard someone say is, if you can't read, you can't lead. And as an anchor and a host, a lot of what you're doing is leading either an audience or you're leading your analysts down a path. So if I haven't been reading and I haven't been caught up, then where am I going to lead you to? Like, what do I really know? What can I really add any value to anything? And so those things are so important. But again, it's draining and it takes a lot of time, and it's still only an hour show. It's not like we're talking that much. That's with commercials, so we're really talking for like 40 minutes. You know what I mean?
And you're doing all this prep
for that. You see me do all the prep for a sideline reporting game, and I talk 5 times. You know what I mean? So like, these are all the things that go into being on TV.
And what podcasts do you listen to?
Oh, so many different ones. I listen to, ESPN has a lot of great ones. Brian Windhorst has one that's the Hoop Collective. I love that one. I listen to The Jump every day when I'm trying to do NBA. During football season, ESPN has a great college football podcast to listen to. I listen to The Daily every morning, which is like a New York Times, so I'm getting my political side or whatever. I do. I love, what's her name, Corrine?
Joyce Meyer.
I love Joyce Meyer.
Oh yeah.
I listen to her podcast. I like her because she gives you the real, and she like if you're. She's like, you think you're tired and you think you're going through this? Be quiet. Let me tell you why the scripture says you shouldn't say that, whatever. I listen to Stephen Furtick. That's like my faith-based podcast. When I want stories, I listen to Radio Lab. They do a great job. Or More Perfect. They're literally just talking about Supreme Court justices. And honestly, like, all of the different things and the different lanes that I'm listening to or trying to take in is like, okay, this is a different way to tell a story. This is a different way to think. This is a different way another group of people are seeing the world. And I'm speaking to all those same people. So it's kind of also about being collective and like eclectic and having all of these different forms of information, streams of information kind of inundating you. It's not always about sports, you know.
And is that, like, you listening to all this podcast and taking all that in and getting these different streams of information, is that kind of why you decided to do your own podcast?
It is, because it's like everyone has a voice. Sometimes I forget that I have one. Sometimes I forget that, like, or I can be covering a game and I'm so focused on the coverage that I forget that, you know, I too can have an opinion or I can have observations while this is going on, but there's also a time and a place for that. So creating a time and a place was creating this podcast, and an opportunity too to talk to the people that I find inspiring and like, so what do you listen to? What are you inspired? I want to hear what podcasts you know. You know what I mean? Like, these are all things that I care about. So that's why I started it.
Well, thank you so much. As my mentor, as an inspiration to me, thank you for taking the time to do this interview, and thank you for coming to the Cowboy Choice Awards. Any closing remarks, any advice you've got for all the kids out there who want to be broadcasters and think that it's glamorous and it's not?
Yeah, first of all, Haley, thanks for having me. And honestly, all of the feedback I would have is just literally be her. Like, be a sponge when you show up somewhere, and if someone's trying to ask you to join in or be an intern or whatever, do everything that the person says. Open eyes, ask how you can do more, and you've always done that. And then also, I mean, be inventive and try new things, and that's what you did with starting the Cowboy Choice Awards. So I think that you're a great demonstration of what everyone who's out there that's young and trying to figure it out needs to be doing. So congratulations to you, and keep killing it.
Thanks, Maria. All right, guys, that's all we have for today. So for the Poke Report, I'm Haley Ryan, and we'll send it back to you guys in the studio.